Hello and welcome to Ancient History Encyclopedia. My name is Kelly, and in honour of International Friendship Day on the 30th of July, we're going to have a look at some of the friendships from the ancient world. We're going to start off with the famous Alexander the Great and his friend Hephaestion. Alexander the Great was the son of Philip II of Macedon, the king who conquered the Greek city-states, and upon Philip II's death, Alexander inherited a sizable kingdom. Philip II prepared his son for rule by having him and his companions tutored by the Greek philosopher Aristotle. Hephaestion was the closest of Alexander's friends and was one of his classmates. They formed a deeper relationship during this time, and it would only grow after Alexander assumed the throne and led his armies to conquer Persia. Alexander's other friends of youth also took part in the campaigns, but none were as close to the king as Hephaestion, as noted by the 1st century Roman historian Quintus Curtius Rufus. Hephaestion was by far the dearest to the king of all his friends, brought up with him and the confidant of all his secrets. He also had more freedom than anyone else in admonishing him, a privilege which he nevertheless used in such a manner that it seemed rather to be allowed by the king than claimed by himself. Alexander would extend his father's kingdom significantly into an empire and would conquer most of the known world of his day. Hephaestion was considered a good influence on Alexander by Philip II, and his judgment proved sound, as Hephaestion was able to wisely counsel the sometimes impetuous Alexander and direct him when no one else could. Hephaestion became Alexander's second in command during their conquests, and much of the organisation and logistics of the successful campaigns were his responsibility. His stature among Alexander's officers is noted in an event after the Battle of Issus, when the Persian king Darius III was defeated. Darius's mother appealed for her life, throwing herself upon the man that she thought was the conqueror Alexander. She was actually appealing to Hephaestion, who, when standing next to Alexander, was taller than him. Their friendship would continue until the death of Hephaestion by fever, and afterwards Alexander buried him with all the rituals of kingship and mourned him until his own death. Their friendship is considered akin to that of Achilles and Patroclus, given Alexander's fascination with Achilles as his supposed ancestor, and it is possible that Alexander himself encouraged this association. Another great friendship comes from the Bible, the story of David and Jonathan, from the book of 1 Samuel. David was a shepherd, and Jonathan was a prince and the son of King Saul. At first, King Saul loved David because he defeated Goliath and for his obvious military skill, but eventually he became jealous of David's popularity and planned to kill him. In the meantime, Jonathan and David became very good friends, and Jonathan gave David tokens of their friendship, which were also symbols of power and royalty. Regarding the beginning of their friendship, before King Saul took issue with David, the book of 1 Samuel states, "Jonathan became one in spirit with David, and he loved him as himself. From that day, Saul kept David with him and did not let him return home to his family, and Jonathan made a covenant with David because he loved him as himself." King Saul eventually initiated his plans to kill David, but Jonathan defied his father and helped David escape. David trusted Jonathan in this, and Jonathan did not disappoint him. Later, in battle against the Philistines, Jonathan was killed, and in the same battle, King Saul killed himself when he knew he was going to be defeated. Afterwards, David assumed the throne to become King David. The friendship between Jonathan and David is frequently cited by writers as an example of a true friendship expressing the values of mutual respect, loyalty, compromise, and sacrifice. Another famous friendship of these same lines comes from ancient Mesopotamia, the story of Enkidu and Gilgamesh, as told in the Epic of Gilgamesh. Enkidu is a wild man of the woods and is uncivilized, and Gilgamesh is a cruel king of a civilized city. In order to try and humble Gilgamesh, the gods send the temple harlot, Shamat, to civilize Enkidu and then to fight and defeat Gilgamesh. Enkidu is enraged by the gods' manipulation and does not want to be civilized or to battle anyone. but he does allow himself to be brought to Gilgamesh for their one-on-one fight. Gilgamesh beats Enkidu in the fight, and afterwards they become friends because they recognize something of themselves in each other. Enkidu sees something of his former savage self in Gilgamesh and realizes he can be civilized and be himself, and Gilgamesh sees how his civilized self can be savage and that he needs to find a new outlet for his self-expression that isn't cruelty. Enkidu and Gilgamesh allow each other to be themselves, and they form a deep bond, and then they go on an adventure. They travel to the cedar forest where no mortal is allowed to go to steal some of its trees. The forbidden trees are guarded by the terrifying demon Humbaba, whom they fight with the help of the sun god Shamash. After they defeat Humbaba, they cut down some of the trees, they make a raft, and they float on it back to Uruk. Afterwards, Gilgamesh is propositioned by the goddess Inanna or Ishtar, and he refuses. Insulted, the goddess sends the bull of heaven down to earth to kill Gilgamesh. Instead, the great bull is killed by Enkidu, who then defies the goddess by taking one of the legs of the bull and throwing it at her. For this affront, Enkidu is sentenced to death by the gods. After he dies, Gilgamesh exclaims, "How can I rest? How can I be at peace? Despair is in my heart. What my brother is now, that shall I be when I am dead." It wasn't just his best friend that Gilgamesh had lost, it was his other half, who allowed him to be whole. After Enkidu's funeral, Gilgamesh sets off to find the meaning of life and immortality, because he did not want to die as Enkidu had. His quest was really to find that wholeness and meaning that he had found with his friendship with Enkidu. Through his quest, not really for immortality, but away from the fear of a meaningless existence, his fear and grief forced him to wrestle with the meaning of existence, and in doing so, he lived a meaningful life. Eventually, according to the story, he returned to the city and wrote down the story of his friendship with the wild man from the woods and his quest for meaning after that friendship was lost. So, from the different friendships you've seen today, what do you think makes a good friend? And do you think that the notion of friendship has the same values across different civilizations? Let us know down in the comments below. This video was brought to you by Ancient History Encyclopedia. For more great articles and interactive content, head to our website via the link below. Ancient History Encyclopedia is a not-for-profit organisation. If you'd like to support our work, head to the link down below or hit the button on the screen. Don't forget, if you enjoyed the video, give us a like and pop a comment down below. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more videos. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you soon.